I am Zane Lamprey. Welcome to the Control Z podcast. In this podcast, we encourage guests to go back in time and examine a moment in their life where they would go back and possibly give themselves advice to do something different. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast up until this point, you know that sometimes people do that, but they've been a little hesitant. So we're trying to crack that nut to figure out how to get people to open up a little bit more, I think. We're getting great content, but I think I can get some stuff that's a little bit deeper. Nitro, who's our guest today, goes there. He goes there right away. He had the benefit of writing 2 books about his experiences, and which encompass regret. They're great reads. They're great books. If you are a fan of Nitro or American Gladiators at all, please go and check out his books. They're fantastic. Just some quick housekeeping before I get into the guest today. I am doing stand-up shows all year round. If you have not been to one, please come. Welcome. The first one's free. That's not true. I will be in Minneapolis from July 11th to the 14th. No, I will be in Minnesota. July 11th through the 14th. I'll be in Brooklyn Park, which is just north of Minneapolis, Moorhead, Duluth, and Hackensack. If you are not from Minnesota, you probably recognize Duluth. And if you are from there, maybe you recognize all of them. So I hope to see you at one of those shows. You can get tickets for those shows at zanelamprey.com. And you can also go get tickets for Zane Toberfest Chicago, which is in September, late September. And then Zane Crawl Key West, which is November 15th through the 17th. And if you don't have tickets for that yet, by the time you listen, hopefully they'll be there. But anyway, go to zanelamprey.com and check it out. And you can also, at this point now, hell hath frozen over. You can finally get the adventure hoodies in my shop, pleep.shop, P-L-E-E-P.shop. Go and pick yourself up an adventure hoodie. You'll be happy that you did. And then, you know what we need to do, because we haven't done this yet, we should probably give a 10% discount code for people who listen to the podcast.
That's great. Slip it in.
You want to do 20 to really
just
reward?
To see if they're paying attention?
Just to see if you're paying attention. It is, what do you want it to be?
Pod 20.
I was going to say Pod 20.
Cool.
So there you go, Pod 20.
We're in sync now. That's
and then
great.
when you listen to this, you'll remember to actually add that to the store.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So our guest today, Nitro, Dan Nitro Clark. I met him at the gym. Now, we didn't necessarily meet. This was a CrossFit gym, so people know each other and say hi. Everyone's very friendly. He's a friendly guy. He's also a little bit intimidating. And I didn't recognize him at first. I knew that I should. I'm like, this guy looks familiar, but I don't know how I should know him. But he's just kind of an intimidating guy. He's very fit, moves around heavy weights, and he can look scary if he wants to. Let's be honest.
When I met him, he came to one of the shows we were doing, and he walked by and I go, that looks like someone I know. Like, he has just that look of like, you know this person.
Right. So we did a show. He lives up in Santa Clarita, California. We did a stand-up show at Pocock Brewing up there, and he showed up with ice. Mm-hmm. So one of the other American Gladiators.
Not drugs.
not ice, the drugs.
Yes.
Not ice, isn't that like people who would kick you out of the country? Ice? Is that ice?
Yeah.
Not that either. Not border patrol. But yeah. So he came up there, and they're both so nice, but also intimidating. These are people who could rip your arms off.
I was nervous at the show end, and we're all kind of hanging around, and I was like, I guess I'll ask for a picture.
Tyler comes up and goes, excuse me, mind if I get a picture with you?
I have a photo, please. And they were so nice. They're like, of course. $40, please.
$40.
And I was like,
yeah. But for 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a good deal. So I saw Nitro at the gym, and then we were doing this competition. My CrossFit gym had a competition. It was like a fitness test to see who could gain the most muscle and lose the most body fat in 100 days. Started on, I think, January 1st. I had done one of these competitions in the past. When I have I'm competitive when there's something in front of me, and if I want to achieve it, just like when I did my my fasting, when I fasted for 4 days on January 1st through the 4th. Mm-hmm. Did you know that I did that?
I didn't.
Yeah, I did not eat for 4 days because people said you couldn't do it, and it's something that has benefits to it. And when the time comes, I'm going to do it, and other people will do it with me because other people have done it since. Mm-hmm. But anyway, when I did this competition, I won it. And at one point during it, I was lifting weights, and I needed a weight belt. And there was a weight belt, a red leather weight belt that said Nitro on it. And I borrowed it. And I was like, don't anybody tell Nitro that I borrowed his weight belt.
Oh,
but
is it just sitting there at the gym?
It was like in like a cubby.
Oh.
And I didn't know if it was for... I don't think it was for other people to use. I think it's because he didn't want to lug it back and forth.
Sure.
And so I used it. Went, and we won this. I won this thing. So my team won, and then I won the MVP. So we won. It was like a group thing. And so I got like, I don't know, a pair of sneakers or something like that. And so they had a party at this Mexican restaurant / bar, and the owner Dan, the owner of the CrossFit, was buying me tequila shots. I was not turning them down. And then Nitro comes in. I'm hammered. I go up and I apologize to him for borrowing his weight belt.
Did he know?
He didn't know.
Well, maybe someone snitched on you. I don't know. That was what I was waiting to find out.
And then then he's like, oh, this drunk guy, Zane. And then he finds out I do drinking shows. So he's like, oh yeah, that matches up. Mm-hmm. That jives. And so he just thought I was like always drunk. And so I've met him since then. And I did another podcast before the pandemic, before COVID. And he was on that. We talked about this. So anyway, we become friends. We support each other. We'll go and have lunch every now and then. He could still rip my arms up. I'm not as scared of him. And he's a great interview. He's one of my favorite guys to interview because he just lays it out there. He lived life. He lived life. It's difficult to have regrets about that. So he'll.
Did you just watch? I watched the Netflix documentary.
Yes.
Right before I like met him, so it was like very fresh in my mind of like, man, you've like been through it.
Yeah.
So,
and lived it.
Yeah.
And lived it. He went in, and he was kind of saying that if he could do anything again, he would kind of like, he would work harder. I was like, I don't know, man. You worked pretty hard. You played hard. I think maybe he means that he wouldn't play as hard, but he's like, I'd still play. Maybe not as hard, but anyway, an incredible interview. Give it your full attention. This is our interview with Dan Nitro. You and I had a conversation when you did my podcast, which would have been right before COVID. So
COVID's my fault. I get where this is going.
Well, not entirely. No, I was kidding. No,
I'm Asian. I'm part Asian. Go there. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I didn't want to say it. You're partially responsible.
Yeah, exactly. Just by being that I'm Asian.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate you saying that. I didn't feel comfortable. But we had a conversation, and also like your book got me to thinking about
which book. There's quite a few.
Fuck Dying.
Okay, got it.
And where it's very retrospective, and the conversation with you at that point was very retrospective. And I'm always this kind of person. Every day I think about if I could go back in time to this point or this point or this point, what would I tell myself? What would I do? And so that's what this is about. This is about you picking a moment in your life. You can be any age, you can be anywhere you want, and you go back and you tell yourself something. You know, it can be things like, oh, go back and buy Bitcoin or do this or don't get in a relationship with this person. But maybe it's deeper. It doesn't matter. You know, but you and I have had those conversations regardless about those times. So what's the first one that pops into your head?
Well, there's no pressure here. It's deep. You said I was deep, so I feel like I have to come up with something, deep.
Yeah,
But interesting. I think it's an interesting exercise in the sense that, for me, I like to play it forward. I like to say, if I was 5 years from now looking at me today,
okay,
what would I tell myself today?
Okay.
If I was 10 years from now looking at myself today, because I think in retrospect, it's something that's not as valuable as it is in present day. How does it help you? Unless you say we learn from our mistakes. But I'm going to play your game.
Yeah, thank you.
The first thing that pops to mind is something very, very small, and I think that's how my brain works.
I love it.
It starts on the outside, and then it starts to go deeper. The first thing would be when I first moved to Los Angeles, there's a group of us guys hanging out, and we were all picking stage names. Like, oh, if I got to be famous, I'd be this guy, just kind of joking around.
Okay. How old are you?
24.
Okay.
And there's one guy that was in a group who became an American Gladiator with me. His name was Jim Califat. And he said, I would change my name from Califat to Jim Starr, Starr.
Wow, okay, that's aggressive.
Starr. Yeah. And he did change it. So if you look at him, he's Jim Starr. He just changed his name.
Oh, he did change it to that.
Okay. And then I was in that group, and I said, You know what I'm going to do? My name Dan Clark, Danny Lee Clark, Dan Clark. I'm going to change my name. I would change my name to Clark Daniels.
Okay.
That sounds like a movie star.
It sure does.
And sometimes I wonder, but I think about this quite often. You know,
Okay.
if I would have changed my name, is something as slight in this world of, where small changes through time can make a big difference. I wonder if that would have made a difference. You know, the way I walked into a room, the way people say, oh, it's Clark Daniels is coming into audition. I wonder if I would have gone on the career path just because of the name change to have, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's career.
Yeah.
Or, it'd be the real version of Dirk Diggler, because that's also like a porn name,
that's
right?
Also a possible direction.
Clark Daniels, I'm here to fix your plumbing.
What about Lee? Did that never occur to you to like embrace the Asian side?
It just did in the last few years.
Okay.
So something I did, I said,
But it's Japanese, right?
yeah, but Lee's Chinese. So
Exactly.
Don't confuse.
No, that's what I wanted to sort of say.
You're very woke. You're very woke because you knew that
be
Lee
aware of
was
that,
not
yeah.
Japanese.
Yeah.
But now just because it gives an Asian flavor. Look, my mom was Japanese, Kazuko Takashima. My dad was Wally Clark.
I got it.
We took my father's name.
Yeah.
But just to give a little Asian flavor, when I just did a show, I said, no, I want to be billed as Danny Lee Clark.
Okay.
And then when I'm doing another show, and I say refer to the guy's name as Danny Lee, because it feels a lot more Asian, and it's a way that's part of my name to also give a little homage and respect to my mother, right? Because my mother, I think one of the things that hurt her the most is when I was younger in my teens was that I would lie about being Asian. I would say I was Hawaiian because Asian wasn't cool back in the late 70s, early 80s in high school. I was told people I was Hawaiian and I was a surfer. And that always hurt her because she was very proud of her culture. So it's a way to pay homage to her.
Was she a tiger mom?
What does that mean, a tiger
Well, was
mom?
she did she keep you in line? It's a new kind of term. It's like someone who's kind of like a helicopter mom, someone who's just on top of their kids to make sure that they're riding them and whatever.
No, that whole idea of the Asian mom, study this, that.
Yeah.
I only lived with my mom for a couple of years. My parents were divorced. I was 4. I went with my dad. And I didn't come back to live with my mom until I was 12. And I lived with my mom for 3 years, and that was it.
But you did live in Hawaii for one point.
No.
Oh, no.
No. I was born in Japan.
Okay.
But then I went to Vietnam when I was 8 to 10, lived with my father
Got
there.
it, okay.
And then I came back and lived with my mom. So I did live with my mom a lot. But, one of my mom's proudest moments, and I was so happy to do this back when we were doing American Gladiators, we went and did shows in Japan. They had their own version of American Gladiators. And Zane, I made it my goal that when I went on that show and introduced myself to a Japanese audience in Japan, I was going to speak Japanese.
Okay.
So I studied for a year and a half, got a tutor. So when I walked on that show and I introduced myself in Japanese to the audience. And it didn't mean anything to anybody but me and my mother.
Yeah.
My mother watched that, and I've only seen my mom cry twice.
Okay.
My mom wept when my older brother died. I was 10, he was 12. I saw her cry. And being that she's Asian, they don't evoke a lot of emotion, so I didn't see a lot of tears. And then I saw my mother cry a second time when she watched the video of me in Japan speaking Japanese on TV. That's the 2 times I've seen her cry.
What, you don't have to remember what it was in Japanese, but what did you say in English? It was probably more than just hello, my name is, right?
I said, hello, my name is Dan Clark. I was born in Zama, Japan. I'm really happy to be here and be your host, and let's fucking go.
Okay.
However that translated.
Yeah, right? That's awesome. That's awesome. So, but to be clear, are you going to go back to that 24-year-old guy? Are you going to tell him to be Clark Daniels, or are you going to tell him, hey, you're good, stick with Dan Clark?
I'd probably stick. This is the hand I was dealt.
That's the catch.
I'd probably stay this.
That's the catch. It's like everyone I'm talking to has that pretty cool path. You know what I mean? So like you to go from...
I could tell you this.
Okay.
So I would have learned to speak Japanese when I was younger.
Okay.
My father said, no,
Wow.
We're Americans. We don't speak that gook shit in my house.
Whoa. Even though he married a Japanese.
Yeah, Marine though. Marine.
Okay.
Marine married my mom in Japan, came back here. She wanted to teach Japanese, and she's like, hell no. You got to see that gives you a picture of who my dad was, right?
Yeah,
We're not speaking that shit. You got to remember, different time.
Yeah, no, I know. I had an overbearing dad, but he wouldn't have been to that angle of everything. It was more like
was a different time.
Yeah.
20 years earlier, the Japanese were in internment camps.
Yeah,
they're putting Japanese people away. 25 years earlier.
Yeah,
look, we're Americans. This is what we do. He would have voted for Trump.
Okay.
He would have voted for Trump without a doubt. This is what we do. We're Americans. Make America great again. That old philosophy. Yeah, I didn't want to get into politics, but that's who my dad would have been.
Yeah.
But I would have fought him and said, no, I want to learn Japanese. That's another part of me.
Okay, so what age do you go back and tell yourself that, and you say something? Whatever you say, it's going to resonate, and you're going to go on that path. So at what age do you think that is when you go back and sort of make that change?
I think it would have been at a really young age in my early adolescence, because there was a whole other aspect of who I am that I really didn't get a chance to explore, love and honor, and have the grace to be in that. Mm-hmm. So I think that would have happened early. Another thing would be when steroids came up. This was 19, let me do the math, 82. Right? I just gotten injured as I was a freshman in junior college, trying to get a scholarship to go to a 4-year D1 school. Mm-hmm. I got injured. I lost this weight. I saw my career and my dream evaporate. Met a guy in the gym. The guy, was huge. He looked great. And I said, what do you do? And he said, I take steroids. And back then, I had no idea what they were. Not like today, where an 8-year-old knows.
But when he said it, was it under his breath? Or was it kind of like
under his breath?
It was. Okay, got it.
No, it wasn't even under his breath. He says, I take steroids. And it was not under his breath, because it would be similar to someone, saying a foreign word which you didn't know what it meant. So he said, I take steroids. And I said, what is that?
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I said, I have no idea what that is.
And how old are you?
I'm 17.
Wow.
Yeah, I finished high school a year early.
Okay.
So I'm 17 years old. It's towards the end of my freshman year in college. And he said that. And I said, because I said, you look great. You're huge. You look fantastic. I take steroids. What is that? Oh, they make you bigger, stronger, faster. I said, are they safe? He says, yeah, I get them from a doctor.
Well, there you go.
You're right. Everything. Yeah. So, I said, sign me up. Right. Mm-hmm. Again, there's no laws. There's no PDs. There's no it's cheating. That hasn't even come about yet. It's just these things that these Russian guys were taking, that some football players taking, and that guy, this bodybuilder guy that was starting to come onto the scene, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Uh-huh. That the people, I think he's taking him. Yeah. And I was like, well, those guys all look freaking great. Yeah. Well, sign me up. Yeah. So I went to see the doctor. Shortly thereafter, I was still 17, but he wouldn't sell them to me. He goes, you got to be 18. So I said, okay. So on my 18th birthday, I went back and saw him, and that's when I first got introduced to steroids. So.
Where was that? I remember you had to drive to it or something.
Yeah, I was in Orange County, California, which is about an hour south of Los Angeles, and we had to come up here towards Los Angeles, San Gabriel Valley. That decision, I would have done again.
You would have done it.
I would have done it again.
That's it. I was going to ask you about that, because that led you on your path through football, injury, gladiators. I mean, that's a big part of who you are.
Yeah, I think I would have done it again at that time.
Do you attribute any of that to having a heart attack? How old were you when you had your heart attack?
50. So yes and no. The doctors said no. The current doctors, I said no, that wouldn't have anything to do with it, that you did that earlier.
Wow. Okay.
They said maybe a lot of cocaine.
Okay.
That could have done something to damage your heart. But they said, but I don't know. I don't know, just because the doctor said, if it had anything to do with the heart attack. But that is a decision I probably would have made again. It's just become so much of that time.
How long did you take them almost consistently? I don't know if you were on and off that or whatever. But
I've been on and off for 25 years.
Okay.
Right now I do the TRT. Mm-hmm. Right? It's different. The dosage is different. The monitoring's different. The blood work is different. The amounts you take, same thing as dosage, the amounts you take is different. The idea is just to keep your testosterone levels at an 800 or 900 level, which would be, optimal, versus without it 350, which is on the lower end.
What do you think they were? So I don't know how anabolic steroids affected your testosterone level. Is that what it was? Is that what it was doing? That's all that it does? It just raises your testosterone and that builds the muscle?
There's other things, but in a very general way, you could say that without getting deep into them. And also with, it's a secondary sex characteristics. You get some aggression and stuff like that. But again, now it's just, monitoring to live, a healthy, energetic lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, and again, I don't know if I wouldn't have taken them if I would, but it's just, if that's one decision I would have probably kept. Now, a decision I would have said no to if I would have had the wherewithal is when I was in high school and my father offered me cocaine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was the neighborhood, cocaine dealer.
Dad?
Oh, Dad. Oh,
okay,
good old Dad.
So Dad, who's Make America Great, and
that's how you make America great.
I guess. But he's also wants you to embrace your American or your white side and not your Asian side, and he wants to be, but then he bends this one.
No, my dad was a guy who bent the rules.
Okay.
My dad was, he left when he was 17 to go join the Marines and, went off to Japan and other places in the Marines. My dad bent the rules. My dad was always looking for a way outside of the system.
Okay.
Regardless of what it was. But my father, very charismatic.
Okay.
He walked in the room, he shook your hand, he had these big blue eyes, and he made you feel like, wow, the light shined on you.
Yeah, yeah.
But, when my older brother died and, he was a man of that Marine, a man of that generation. When my older brother died, he never got help to process the trauma and the grief. Mm-hmm. So him never getting help, I think, became this illness inside of him, this sadness, this grief that he didn't process. So he drank, did drugs, did opioids, these things to cover that. And to me, my dad died at 58. To me, my father was not able to raise his hand, a man of his generation, to get the help. And that inability to process the grief caused the addiction. So that eventually, in turn, led to his early death of an overdose at 58. Mm-hmm. But back in high school, he was the neighborhood, blow dealer. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not talking Scarface. We're talking, big customer was an 8-ball.
Yeah.
Grams, half grams. I'm 15 years old. Hey, go to the corner, meet this guy.
Wow.
Go drop this off. We don't want him coming to the house. That kind of thing when I was 15, 16, 17, 18. And probably when I was about...
Sorry, where was this?
Orange County.
Okay.
Orange County. And that was a decision I wish I would have had the wherewithal to say no. You
can't say no to your dad. You'd have to, I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think a lot of kids today would say no to their dad.
Yeah, these days, I don't want to say no to your dad.
No, I have a 13-year-old.
I'm afraid of him.
I have a 13-year-old stepson. If I, was that kind of guy, he would say no.
Yeah,
he would say no. Kids today are different to me.
But so are you.
Yeah,
you're different. Yeah.
No, I'm saying I don't know. So that was one thing I wish I would have said no, because there was it's a weird drug. It's a drug that makes you think, when you first try it, wow, I wish every day could be like this.
Yeah.
This is every moment could be, and there's such a euphoria. And then it just turns out to, steal your life and disappoint you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a false sense of being, I think.
Well, I mean, look, it's simple. I think it's simple chemistry. It elevates.
Yeah.
Right? And then after the elevation's gone, it just goes down, right?
I hear about people going out. My friends are like, "Oh, you stayed out till 6." I'm like, cocaine. Come on. There's no way to do that. With alcohol, no, you can't. You're just like, oh, you pass out. You want to keep the party going.
Well, there were so many of those days and so many of those nights, especially being a young guy when I got to Hollywood, but even before Hollywood. There were so many of those days and nights and even when I was playing, briefly professional football, right? It was this whole idea like, oh, now I've made it, so I'm going to go party.
Okay.
I didn't understand the work ethic.
Uh-huh.
I knew the work ethic of what it took to get there.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't understand the work ethic of what it meant to stay there and really be there. Getting there for that brief moment was the win.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was, I'm going to celebrate. And the same thing when I was in college.
Put your foot up on that.
Oh, no, I'm good. Stretching out the hip.
God, okay.
Yesterday, my Adrian, my 13-year-old stepson, said, we're going to take a hike up a mountain.
Okay.
For his school project, and I love being outdoors with him, and so I'm like, great. I took a quick glance at it, and I thought the hike was 3.1 miles round trip up a mountain.
Okay,
it was 10.7.
Wow.
So I'm a little bit sore.
Wow, that's crazy. Where was that?
It was up off the 5 freeway near Gorman.
Okay,
there's all those hills up there. We went and saw
the grapevine.
Up the grapevine, yeah. There's all these wonderful hikes up there, and this was a fire tower. It was up Slide Mountain, a road that's closed, old fire tower. We went up there. It's one of those great things that we get to do with each other.
You ever think about this goes to like who you are right now and who you have become, and that is like, you know, a fit guy, right? So fitness is always something that you're aware of, and to think about the fact that you're 60 and
just happened.
You're just getting used to it.
I'm just getting used to it. Now, this may sound
it feels like an insult. I'm just saying your age.
No, it does. But no, it's it's 50 wasn't. I had to really grapple with 60. It happened May 21st, 2-3 weeks ago, and we had a fabulous party. It was great, but it's just been hard to grapple with. And in my own shallow way, that what I tell myself, I say Brad Pitt's 60. Tom Cruise is 60.
Oh my God.
Clooney's 60.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe's 60. I said, okay, I'm not in such bad company.
Yeah.
But when I look at them, I don't see an old guy.
Yeah.
But when I think of myself as 60, I think of an old guy.
You know, I was talking about this yesterday. I have to be reminded of my age. I forget. I in my mind, I'm in my 30s. I literally. Sometimes there'll be a glance in a mirror and be like, "Oh shit!" Or like I look at a photograph and I'm like, "Oh fuck!" I completely forgot. In my brain, that's not me.
Yeah.
And I go back home. Like I was home. I did it. My last stand-up run was through Central New York, so I stayed at my mom's house. All of us did for like 5 days, and kind of used it as a hub to go to like Utica and Binghamton and Albany, or whatever. And you see some people that you grew up with, and you're just like, "Oh wow, okay." They just kind of you give up. They've kind of just, or rather accepted that 60 is 60. And I think that there's some people that are just like, I'm going to fight it.
Well, I think we get to define our lives and who we are and what we can do. But there's just still something, I think, in the archetype, especially as you're growing up when you say 60.
Oh, yeah.
60. Yeah.
But it also isn't what it used to be.
No. I look, if you go look at what was that movie? Cocoon?
Yeah.
If you go look at all those guys,
so
Wilford Brimley, Jessica Tandy, all them, they were 50.
I know.
At the time they shot that.
I know.
And they look like someone who would be 85 today. So it's changed. And I don't know, sometimes, holding on to your youth and holding on to that. I don't know if that's the ultimate vanity, but I look at it as love. I love, for maybe I won't say the first time, but I've been so acutely aware of how many things in my life that I love. Mm-hmm. I love the woman I'm with. I love my stepson. I love that my son is doing so fabulous. I've got such a good group of friends from so many different areas. My life, I love where I live. There's so many things I love. And I think that's what sometimes makes it hard, because there's that ticking clock, right? And I start to... it takes me out of the moment. I start to think, there's only, so many Christmases left. Right. So many summers left.
Wow. And I used to look forward to spring.
Yesterday I was at the pickleball court.
Yeah. God. Okay. He's talking about pickleball. Nitro's talking about pickleball. And someone warned me.
And a frickin' guy dropped. Boom.
No.
Down. Heart attack.
And?
They were pumping on he died.
Wow.
They were pumping on his chest for 15 minutes. They defibbed him, brought him back. He never regained consciousness, and the paramedics took him off. This was yesterday.
How old?
I don't know how old the guy is. He's like 58. 60 years old. I don't know how old the guy was. So
I have to ask, was he fit?
Yeah, he was relatively fit, about as fit as you.
That's what kills me. What does that mean? not you, but me.
No, so just seeing that yesterday, you know, I feel like it was funny because I got outside the court because someone was looking for a doctor. As doctor, there's a guy down, you know, there's
it's a pretty significant thing to have witnessed, by the way. Someone dying playing something that I know that you love, pickleball.
Oh. Well, it was interesting because the older people, when I say older, people my age,
okay,
we moved to that court and we stood out and we watched.
Yeah,
because I think we could relate to it. The younger guys went like, "Oh God, I hope he's okay," and they went back to playing, you know, around the corner.
Wow,
and it was interesting, and I felt, you know, I felt emotional.
Yeah,
because I was like, "Oh my God, you know, you're there, you're living, you're living your best life, you're out here doing something you love, and all of a sudden, bang, bang." You know, I hope the guy makes it. I don't know, but it was just a real. You know, it was a real eye opener. Well, a reminder.
Well, that same thing happened to you.
Yeah, I wasn't like dead. I had a heart attack, and I had a buddy. Ben.
Where was that?
Horsepower. Famous Horsepower CrossFit Ventura, California, Studio City.
That's where we met. Yeah.
Yeah, where we met. So, but it wasn't. I mean, this guy was down. And
remember when I borrowed your weight belt?
Yeah, I remember when you borrowed my spandex too. I haven't.
I did.
Yeah, I haven't been able to.
Oh, that's amazing. Your American Gladiators spandex. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, that was some good pictures.
So you're at Horsepower, our CrossFit gym, and you're working out. You're working out?
Yeah. Okay. Working out.
And what happened?
Oh, it's chest pain. I'll minimize it here. Chest pain. Felt like an elephant standing on my chest. I didn't go down. I had a friend, just drive me over to the urgent care. Dumbest thing in the world. You have a heart attack, you go to emergency room. Urgent care cannot save your life.
Right.
Ambulance comes, they take me, they bring me into surgery. Put a stent in, and that was 10 years ago.
So open you up?
No, they open your now. They go through the groin.
Really?
Yeah. They don't do open heart surgery unless it's like bad. So what they do is they put the camera up your up in an artery. And they can see everything in your heart, and they just figure out what they need to do.
So they put in a stent, which is basically like a balloon, or
no? A stent is a little metal tube which holds your arteries open.
Okay.
So it's a support system, but that was 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago. It was look, I made it 10 more years. I outlived my father. My father passed away at 58.
My father, I outlived my dad by 52. He died when he was 52. So I'm basically there.
Basically. Basically.
But I think
basically
he might have been 51. I think he was 52. He just brain tumor. I think about like what he did and how do I live my life different. So it's not intentionally, but I'm glad that humor is a big part of my life because I know that laughing is medicine.
But you work your ass off, dude.
I do work my ass off.
No, you work your ass off.
I do.
I know, and I admire that, but sometimes I get concerned for you.
I appreciate that.
No, that you're not taking. You don't. I don't know if you're taking enough time for your health, and for yourself. And
I do two things when I'm on the road. That it's interesting because I was talking about Nick, and so Nick started on the road with me 3 years ago, yesterday, or 2 days ago, June 3rd. And so we've done 130 shows a year. So right now we've just did show number 386. So it's about 130 a year. And we were talking about it, and it's life on the road is different than what people think because I sleep in, then I wake up, I get a late checkout, I go to the gym, I do my walking, I get my 10,000 steps and the gym, I eat better when I'm on the road, and so like. It's actually better than what people might think. People want to think, and this is the tough thing because you have the reputation as the drinking guy and all this kind of stuff. People think that when I roll into that town, they're like, "Hey, let me take you on a pub crawl before you go into your stand up." It's like, no, I hit the stage sober every night, and then I have my first beer when I'm on stage, and then maybe I have a beer or two. And I don't want to disappoint people who think that I'm going to get wasted, but it's my job to be the ringleader and to like, I'm giving a performance. I'm doing a play every night and I want to be dialed in. So I think it's less than what people think. The thing that is, there is a grind, you know what I mean? Because we're doing our drives at night, and so we're getting in, checking in at like 2 a.m. but then we'll, you know, sleep till 10 and whatever. So I don't know. It's interesting because we were talking about this yesterday. It's like, what do people want to hear? And Nick was like, I think people want to hear the truth. And I was like, yeah. I also sometimes think that they want to imagine that we're out there partying. But anyone who's 52 knows that I'm not made of the same substance that I was made of when I was 32. You know, I'm not rubber anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a balance, right? I think there's I think it's a balance. I think there's this idea of, you know, let's everyone be our most authentic self, right? And then at the flip side, I think there's other people that say, no, just keep lying to me. You know, keep projecting this. Not lie to me.
Or don't correct me.
Keep projecting this image.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
I need that right now.
Yeah.
I need that. You know, I'm going through a tough time, and I want to know there's people out there.
Yeah.
It's almost like you look in the fitness world, right, where you used to have these guys in the magazines, and they'd be like, you know, I was this fat guy, and all I did was take this product, you know, ABC vitamins, and now look at me, right? And I think there's part of the people who want to be like, wow, I could take those and I can look just like that if I train. But the truth of the reality is that guy who took those gained weight on purpose before, took those plus usually roids to get to look like that, to project that image.
Yeah.
Right? If it's me, if people ask me now, are you on testosterone? I say, absolutely. I take this, you know, I take what do I take? 100 milligrams, 80 milligrams a week. And I train my ass off. I watch what I eat. And that's why I look like this. Because I don't want someone to go and work out and take just this other, you know, I'm taking creatine. And they're doing the same routine, and how come I don't look like you? Right? I want to say this helps.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the work and the dedication and the diet and you're committed to it, it's not going to happen. I know a lot of guys taking, you know, TRT who still look the same because they don't train.
Right.
They don't put the work in.
Yeah.
So I want to be truthful because I don't want people to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm not there. Right.
Yeah.
So right. So I think it goes both ways.
It's you know, it's just that okay. So one time I went on to audition. This is during Three Sheets when it was on the air, and I walked in and one of the people, the casting directors or directors, was auditioning for like a sitcom, and they were fans of Three Sheets, the drinking show that I did. And I walked in like, oh, are you drunk right now? And I was like, no, I don't actually drink as much as people think. And then I just watched their enthusiasm for me just go, you know,
Yeah.
I should have had a witty response, not correct them and be like, no, but I'm going to be in about 15 minutes. Like something to keep in the character that they want. Because look,
Character. That's the key word. The character.
You and I are entertainers,
the character.
Right?
Yeah.
We put out a certain persona. And you know, we have to make sure we keep that going. Now with stories and Instagram and all this kind of stuff, then you start to get a little peek behind the curtain. But you can give people a peek to what you want to show them and not show them stuff you don't want to show them. You're not being inauthentic if you're just showing them the things they want to see.
Yeah, there's a dichotomy, right? What is this show I just watched? It's disturbing but good. On Netflix, I think it was Baby Reindeer.
I haven't seen it yet. You watched it?
I watched it. It's about a struggling actor, or struggling comedian.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that when I'm in the room with you, but didn't mean anything with it. Struggling comedian, works as a bartender.
Wait, because the comedian part or the struggling part?
So he works as a bartender, and he's got this stalker. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to watch. Enough people have told me about it. I have to watch it.
But he does a different kind of comedy. It's like with costumes and little noise makers and bada bings and bada bangs. And, you know, it's hard to watch because he has I won't give it all away, but he has a stalker and a female, a larger woman, and she gives him everything he's missing on stage. Oh my God, hi, you're wonderful. Look at those handsome faces, all that. And he knows she's not healthy, but that's what he's missing inside. So he keeps kind of egging her on. And it gets disturbing, not with her, but with another part of his life where right around episode 6 or 7, I'm like, why am I watching this, honey? I don't like this.
Right.
And then it all comes back together in the end of the episode because he speaks his truth. So we're talking about authenticity, right? He speaks his truth. This is who I am. This is how I feel about myself. And this big monologue on stage, he puts down the costumes. He puts down all that stuff. And when he finally speaks his truth, the world loves him. And that's how his career takes off. And it's based upon a true story. So we're talking about the authenticity and the characters. And yeah, it's some people say that there's no more Hollywood stars, there's no movie stars because we know about them from their Instagram. From all
that's interesting. There was a guy, Chris Titus, a comedian, and I was talking to him in a podcast years ago, and he was talking about how he couldn't get a leg up on his career. He couldn't have it take off. He was doing like jokes and stuff. And then somebody said, like, you're doing jokes. Tell them about yourself. And the moment that he did that, it was just like that. And for me, I mean,
you tell a lot about yourself.
Yeah, I sure do. I sure do.
Funny.
I don't care. Yeah.
No, but I think it's that realness and authenticity that grounds things mixed in with how do I make that entertaining. And I think when you show parts of yourself like you do in your performance, there's a universality to it that connects us to you as a human being.
Yeah.
Oh, like I've been at that birthday party. I've been the guy who was drunk, but I never put my ball on a table.
Yeah.
But we know that guy.
Right. It was just one ball.
You only have one ball?
No, that's all I put on the table.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
I have some class, bro. You know. but it's funny. But then that's the persona that I put out. You know what I mean? I'm telling those stories. I'm not telling other stories. I'm kind of telling people what they want to hear.
Curating.
Sure. Yeah, it's exactly right. So so during the Gladiator times. So it was when did that start?
American Gladiators, 89 I think it came on.
Okay. And do you go back and give that guy any advice?
Again, I give him the same advice.
Do steroids.
Do steroids. No, I was on the bean. I give him the same advice as I give myself when I got to the NFL that I would give myself when I was in college at San Jose State on scholarship. So when we're at San Jose State, the season ends, school year ends, and you have a choice. You can go back home, or you can stay. They give you a job, and you can train with the team or the guys who are there throughout the summer.
Okay.
So me, my dad had drugs. It was Southern California. It was Newport Beach. I wanted to go home and party.
Yeah.
I worked hard, but I didn't understand the true work ethic that the 1% did that would separate you from everybody else.
Okay.
So I went home. 2 summers, 3 summers, I went home. And I partied and I trained and I did both.
Okay.
In retrospect, I would have stayed my ass there.
Okay.
And worked my ass off. Because I know that focused effort through those 3 months of summer would have made a big difference in the overall outcome of my football career. Same thing when
which was how long?
It was a season.
Okay.
Same thing. I got injured. Same thing when I got with the Rams.
Yeah.
I would have been like, I need to work. Not, hey, I made it. Let's go drink. Let's go pick up chicks.
Okay.
So I would tell myself the same thing. And look, I had a good work ethic, but a good work ethic and the work ethic of someone who wants to be the absolute best, there's just a difference. Yeah. So the work ethic, to make it to be elite in your field, it takes so much more work, even though it was a hard work than I ever realized. And I'd go back and tell that guy, because if you can really grind and give more than you thought you could ever give and more than you're giving, it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Right. And to get a job in this business, I don't think is so hard, right?
Anything that you've done, so you think about when you're playing junior college, the NFL, Gladiator, there are so many people that wanted your job. There's so many people that would do anything they could to get your position. And I think that sometimes people get to a certain position and think like, I made it, I earn it, I deserve it, or whatever it is, I got to the spot, but not realizing that there's so many people hot on your heels, Did you know that? I mean, you had to.
No, Gladiators, there was nothing like American Gladiators. It wasn't like, hey, this is a show that's been around forever and this is a career, and it was a show, so it didn't feel like that. For me, it was a job.
It was a pretty amazing documentary, the series that you just did.
Oh, Muscles and Mayhem over at Netflix.
And I didn't realize. So that was you. That was your project?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A company approached me and said, "Hey, read your book. It's amazing. Second book, my first book, Gladiator, True Story of Roids, Rage, and Redemption. It's amazing. Can
you say that faster so people can use?
No,
just say it. Say it.
Gladiators, a true story of Roid, Rage, and Redemption.
Beautiful.
They said this is fantastic. It says it's so deep. It goes beneath the sea. We're just like, wow, what a human journey.
Yeah.
That's behind the spandex, so to speak, and. They said, "Hey, this documentary series are like really coming to fruition right now. This Last Dance, the one on the Bulls, just did incredible.
Right.
We can get you a meeting at Netflix. You have an idea how to do the docuseries?" And I said, "Sure. When is the meeting?"
Yeah.
I had nothing planned. I had
right.
written
Sure.
the book, but I was like, "Yeah, sure. When's the meeting? I'll prep for it." They said, "How about next Thursday? I can get you at the head of Netflix, unscripted." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be ready." So I went spent the next week writing a show Bible and a treatment for what I thought the docuseries should be. And I based it on The Last Dance. And if you look at The Last Dance and if you look at Muscles and Mayhem, they're very similar structurally.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So The Last Dance was the Bulls story, but it's really Michael's story. It was really Scotty's story. It was really Dennis's story. The narrative through line was about how management thought they were more important than the players, and that's why places and teams won championships. And they said, "Hey, it's us. Screw you guys. You don't like it. We're going to fire you." They fire Phil Jackson. American Gladiator storyline, I built it the same way. Yeah. It's a story of the American Gladiators, but it's really Nitro's story, Lasers, Ice, Zap, Geminis.
Yeah. And
it comes as they are the heart of the franchise. And it comes to a point where the company says, "No, it's not you guys, it's us. Come back to work or you're fired. We're not going to give you merchandise." So followed that. We produced that. And for me, it was, as a creative person who wanted to put something out into the world, when I pitched it to Netflix, it was, we have to tell the human story. We have to tell the pain to purpose story. We have to tell the stories behind the spandex. The goal was to teach you about something, the American Gladiators, that you didn't know behind the scenes. But the story was also to make you laugh, to take you back to that nostalgic time in the 90s when gas was 90 cents a gallon, when Clinton was in the White House, when, Schwarzenegger and Stallone were ruled the box office. And the idea was also to make you feel something by taking you on a very human journey. And I positioned the characters through line as this was a story about a young boy who lost his older brother, who was broken inside, but didn't know how to deal with his grief. So instead,
Are you okay with? Okay, good.
Who didn't know how to deal with his grief.
That's potato, sorry.
Who didn't. So this is a story about a young boy who lost his older brother, who was broken inside. He didn't know how to deal with his grief. So he ended up building this meat suit of muscle around him to protect him, and it made him unable to feel, right? So the idea was, going through this journey, he learns that maybe big boys don't cry but men do, and that's that journey of the characters.
That's a line from your book too.
Yeah, so there's a very human aspect of that, and I think that's what people loved. And I've gotten so many people hitting me up on email, Instagram, wherever they find me, and they're just saying, "Thank you so much for being vulnerable and open." And they said, we loved American Gladiators growing up, but after watching the docuseries on Netflix, we love it even more.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is people are like, okay, what's next? They want more.
Yeah. No, I said we love it even more.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But they want more. Because I've been told by people too, because I'll post a picture of you and I, where everyone's like, "What, Nitro?" And they'll start telling me their American Gladiator story. And they're just... It's that nostalgia. They want it back. They're like, what's next?
Well, they're bringing it back. I don't know how it's going to be.
Okay.
They just came out now that Amazon, who owns the library of American Gladiators, they just came out announcement this week that they're going to reboot it a third time. Okay. So we'll see what happens.
With a new group of people.
Yeah, obviously.
How about you guys?
Well, I hosted the last year of Gladiators. So I would love to come back as a host, and I think it'd be interesting for people. But we'll see. We'll see what they do with that.
It may be amazing if it could be a situation where it was more of a competition where you guys could be judges or mentors.
I would host.
Yeah, for sure.
I would definitely host. That'd be fun.
Okay, so do you go back because there was a lot of turning points in that story. You go back to yourself at any point in that process when you walked off. Are you going to go back and tell yourself not to do that?
I'm absolutely going to do it 100 times over.
You're going to walk out every single time?
Yeah, I'm going to walk out every single time. There comes a point where you have to stand up for who you are and what you believe in.
Okay.
And for the common decency of what's fair and what's correct. Right? You keep bending over for people.
You guys are getting paid shit, and you're getting treated like shit.
No. So that's a misnomer. We weren't getting paid like shit. We were getting paid like shit for the show. Comparatively, right? The episodes we got after a minimum, which was $700-800 a show. The residuals were okay.
I know, but for what you're that's shit for beating yourself up.
Well, look, if I said to you, Zane, I want to start this new business, there isn't much money to start.
Okay.
It's a great idea. Come work.
Right.
And then we both go work, and then it takes off.
Right.
Then you ask me for a raise, and I say no. That's when it's unfair.
Yeah.
So in the beginning,
shit comparatively, just so you know what I mean. Like I think. In just comparatively for what is happening, the brand, it was disproportionate to what you guys were bringing to it.
Well, you would hope that when something becomes successful and you're a part of it, the people who are in charge would share with that success.
Yeah.
Like here, you get stock options, right?
Yeah.
In the internet world or the tech world, you get stock options. Oh, Facebook took off, and now I'm a gazillionaire.
Yeah.
It was like Facebook took off. And they said everyone else who works here isn't getting paid.
Right.
Just Zuckerberg. Right. So that's what it was like. But in the beginning, no, it's a job. And look, I love the experience of American Gladiators. I wouldn't take that back in a second. I would have walked out and stood up for myself once it became successful every time, 100 times over.
Good.
I mean, that's just, and then when I went back to it, the reason they let me host or gave me a host because their ratings went down, and they said, hey, you come back as Nitro for a year, we'll let you host the following year. That's something they knew I wanted to do. They wanted to make the progression. So I wouldn't have gotten that either. Yeah, you got to stand up for yourself every time, 100 times over.
That's good. So at the end, to sum it all up, it's like you're pretty happy where you are. First of all, you're alive.
Yeah, I'm really happy. You know what? I wish I would have learned how to be a better man earlier, to be a better human being earlier. I took too many lessons from my father on, how to be a man in the sense of it was a different type of masculinity. And my dad was such a womanizer, and I was a womanizer. I just thought that's what you did. I thought you were unfaithful. I thought you cheated. I thought you lied to women. I thought, the more women you had, the cooler was it made you. And I realized, through college and, through Gladiators in those first years that, I wasn't the best guy as a partner, and I wish I would have known how to be a good man at a younger age.
Okay.
I followed my father's footsteps. My father was a womanizer, and I just thought that's what you did. I thought I didn't understand about fidelity. I didn't understand about trust. And then through the years of college football, Gladiators, I was a fun guy, but I wasn't a good partner, and I didn't understand that. And it took me a long time to learn, to be a good human being in a relationship, to be honest, to be respectful. And I still learn those lessons now. So if I could go back into time, that is something I would definitely change, because I didn't see it at the time, but I'm sure I hurt a lot of women's feelings by lying and not being a forthright person. And now in my relationship, I do everything to show up and to be who I am and to be a good stepfather and to be a good human.
There's nothing to say.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I would see guys, growing up and like, you're faithful? Really? Isn't that boring? I just didn't understand that there were other sides to it, things that you got. And
I mean, it's also choosing who you surround yourself with too, but that's part of it. You're gonna surround yourself with people that are going to validate the way you live, and then that just gives you validation for making the decisions that you make, and then
not only validate but celebrate you, dude.
Yeah, right.
Dude, you were with her, dude, and that used to fill up so many places inside. Yeah, I'm the man. But I was easy to get back then, as a for a woman, but I was really hard to hold on to because there wasn't much there as substance as that kind of man. And you're right what you said. It's about who you surround yourself with, and I really learned to surround myself with people who have skills or traits that I don't have. One of my best buddies, Brad.
That's now or then?
Now,
right.
The last 25 years.
Yeah, sure.
Like my buddy Brad. He's so straight laced, so forward, so like such an honest guy. And I learned from him, instead of learning from who I was raised by. And I have other friends who've had tremendous successes in other businesses. I like to surround myself in. Yeah, I really think you're a reflection of your 5 closest friends.
Yeah.
You want to see who you are? Just look at your friends.
Yeah.
Just look at your friends.
I'm a piece of shit.
But that's the choice you have to make.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes you outgrow people.
Yeah.
And it's hard to leave them and to move on. But you really do outgrow people, and you can choose who to bring into your life.
Yeah.
And you got to put yourself out there, and you have to the one, to make the phone calls. You're the one pushed to get together, and but you can really, really choose.
Yeah.
You can really, really choose.
It's good, man. It's good. This is, I mean, look, this is the kind of stuff we're looking for in these. And like I said, you really were an inspiration because of the conversations you and I have had before about this. I like to go back and, rather than telling people how to live, you go back and you explain decisions that you made and maybe decisions you would have made differently. So I think you gave some really great perspective. And I know for a fact that anyone listening to this walks away thinking about this.
Well, I'll say this last in our closing thing. We talked about the heart attack I had 10 years ago. And in that moment, when I was in the emergency room and they were going to wheel me into surgery, the cardio lab, there was a 20-minute time period where I wasn't sure if I was going to live or die. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, it became like in an instant, I was so acutely aware of the things that I thought were important before, which were the big house up in Mulholland, the 2 German cars in the driveway, the plaques on my wall. I thought those were so important. But in the end, what I realized at that moment, that all I wanted was, I wanted the people that I loved close to me. Mm-hmm. And then I also wanted them to know that I love them. Nothing else mattered. Mm-hmm. And being able to have that moment, being able to give the tragedy and the gift of the heart attack, I got a window into the future on how I should live my life. And I rebuilt my life based upon knowing that was what was important to me. So yeah, chasing the career accolades and the achievements and being seen and being recognized, that's still important to me. And that was the only thing that was really important to me before. Mm-hmm. But now driving my 13-year-old, 12-year-old stepson to school and being in the car with him for 10 minutes, which before in the past would have been like, oh God, I got home, I got stuff to do. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, oh, this is part of my day. Mm-hmm. Oh, I get to go pick him up. You're not picking him up. Okay, I'll pick him up. How was the day today? It's those little moments of little snippets of human life and beauty and truth that are everything if you let them be. And that was one of the gifts of having a heart attack. And would I change the heart attack? No, because I got a gift out of it.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Nitro Clark. Get the book.
Danny Lee Nitro is too much.
I don't know who he is anymore.